Hi there, my name is Josh, and I'm a learning experience designer here with the Predictive Index. I'm here today to talk about something that can make or break your interest in a company, and that's their hiring practices. More specifically, their interview process. I don't think I'm alone in saying that there's been a handful of jobs that I've turned down just from a bad experience. And from the company side, there's so much cost when it comes to having a bad hire that understanding if they're the right fit is essential. So, how do we do this right for both sides in a world that is ever growing virtually? Today, let's talk about PI's tips on how to conduct a virtual interview. Let's check it out. The first tip starts with preparing your interview space.
I would start with two very simple things. Is the internet strong enough? And is it quiet enough?
Ideally, it should be in a space that has minimal noise and then has minimal interruptions where you can actually focus on the conversation at hand versus having some side distractions.
If you are trying to give your responses in between honking horns, if you are trying to give your sixth consecutive answer where you're glitching in and out, and those are just things that we can't always control them, but you can certainly do your prep work.
My distractions, even down to Slack. Slack can be a huge distraction as everybody's pinging me at the same time. It's calendar reminders popping up. So just kind of minimizing the noise to be able to focus and give that person my full attention.
I don't particularly care if you are in your bathroom, in the shower, because that's where you get the best Wi-Fi. That's totally fine. Just don't have the shower dripping behind you in a way that now I'm paying attention to the faucet instead of what you're saying.
Second, dive deeper than their resume. It's also important to get to know the person more than just based on their work history. Here at PI, we use a framework called Head-Heart Briefcase. The briefcase represents a worker's education, knowledge, skills, and experience. While this is important, it's often what we find out from common interview questions and reviewing their resume. The head represents the behavioral drives and cognitive ability of a person. This is also essential to assess because it's highly predictive of how they'll perform in the workplace, and oftentimes is why a person is not a good fit for a job. Last is the heart. This represents the values and interests of this person. If you want to know how the candidate will fit or add to your organization's culture, make sure you assess their heart.
Head-Heart Briefcase really gives us a way to start talking about what you want to work towards, what your strengths are, what your gaps are, and hopefully you know them, and then how you would go about learning a job that's outside of the purview of what you've done in the past.
I came from previous companies where the first thing we look at is the briefcase. If they didn't meet this criteria, we didn't even consider them. So we did it opposite.
It's no longer just the free snacks in the office or, can I have an easy commute? Those are things that do lead people to quit their jobs, but that's not what we want to talk about in an interview, right? I want to hear about what you want to be when you grow up.
Knowing that we're starting with the head, we're starting with somebody who has those attributes, that comes to the table ready, is a huge advantage, because we know walking in the door, at minimum, we have somebody that from a head perspective is going to probably fit.
Third, define what contributes to a successful interview. With a virtual world, there are new things to consider that might not be important when determining if this candidate is a good fit.
We need to be aware of being inclusive. So not everyone does have the luxury of stepping away from a loud at-home experience. And not everyone's home is the quietest place in the world. So we do need to not ding people for where they might be having to take an interview.
I had a kid walk in one time during interview, and this is where understanding, and it usually opens up those human moments of, wow, okay, this is a virtual interview. We're human, things happen, but we acknowledge them and we just continue to move forward.
Talent, skill set, cultural alignment, rather than I have this way of doing it where I shake someone's hand and then I know whether they'll be good at a job, which frankly, we know science backs up. We're not that good at it anyway. Our gut is not that accurate. Technology is just the vessel through which we're interviewing. And I don't think that it should impact a whole lot of the substance of what we get there. That should still come from things like a solid interview plan, a really well-informed and prepared interview team, and prioritizing candidate experience.
Speaking of which, tip 4 is consider the candidate experience. This can involve anything from providing detailed instructions to how you come across as a representative for your organization.
To get a person ready for a virtual interview, obviously you do have to make sure they have the technical requirements, that We ask that they have their camera on because, again, that gives us visibility to the person, a little bit more personable than if it was just a phone call. Again, having that backup alternate way to reconnect should something happen with the internet or the laptop or anything happening there is also important. And then I also personally, I encourage them to have my LinkedIn profile up. It's not just, are you a great fit for us? It's, am I a great fit for you?
Part of my prep is to check whether the invite that I've sent out has the link to the remote interview video chat. I make sure that I'm on that chat first so that they get a coming into a room that someone's in versus that very strange virtual waiting room experience. Way ahead of time, I'll also make sure if the interview is not necessarily with me, but it's with my team, I'll make sure that those folks know, hey, you might be the first interview for Jane Smith of the day. Can you, before we get into interviewing, person on my interview team, can you do a little bit of table setting for the day and just say, hey, welcome to your interview experience.
I try to overshare and over communicate. We usually kick off and I let them know, hey, just so you know, I'm paying full attention to you, but if I'm looking to the left, that's where I'm taking some notes. And if you hear me typing, it's not that I'm not paying attention or multitasking. I am paying attention to you. I just want to capture what's being said and what we're talking about. And that usually prompts them to say the same thing. Oh, fantastic. I'm taking notes as well. So if you see me looking this way, that's what's happening.
When we're on Zoom, your volume, your pauses, and your cadence in speaking all become so much more important in the absence of body language.
And our last tip is to not let a virtual interview take away from sharing your culture with the candidate. Just because they're not walking the halls of your office doesn't mean they can't feel that excitement and passion your company brings.
So I have a lot of PI swag around me, and I do happen to pick some stuff up and say, oh, look at the cool stuff. When I joined, I got this and I got this.
The other thing that we do as a nice little touch is we send folks a video that we recorded way back in March of 2020. And that video is a virtual office tour. So we know that most folks can't come and see our office due to health and safety concerns, but we like how our office lives and breathes our culture, lives and breathes the way that we want to work together. And so we show people that as a little bit of if you were coming to the office, here's what you would be getting. Here's some of the taste of what it's like at PI.
And showing that there is growth here, there is excitement here, there's energy here, and that there's just overall phenomenal people that you get to work with day in and day out.